What did you learn from your visits with the beloved guardian? And I should say, friends, these questions come from you.
Do you give a choice? That,
well, you can answer it any way you want.
I think while the hands of the cause are here, I think that's not appropriate for me to say anything in this regard because Mrs. Banani also feels it.
Gentlemen, let's go home.
I can see.
I don't know what to say about this because before going and visiting the guardian, I've always heard in our household the name of the guardian constantly. I tell you a secret. Please don't say to anybody. Well, I hope my husband won't hear it. When we were married, do you like to know that? The very first thing that he told me, the very first time that after the party we went home, he told me, I don't want anything from you, nothing. Just one thing I desire, and that you love the guardian the way I do. Of course, this was very difficult for me because I could never love the guardian the way that he did. I said, I try. And in order to really this accomplish in our life, probably he had a plan for me, and he started to take me to the Holy Land. Each time that we went there, it was a feeling that cannot be described. The feeling that the world is full now, is not empty anymore. When the guardian sat with me alone, think about it. The guardian of the cause of God, in many of our trips, I was just the only one, lady, visiting the guardian. Maybe this is not the answer to your question, but I have to say this. The guardian used to visit the Eastern gentleman in the afternoon, walking in the shrine of the Bab, and visiting the ladies at the households of Abdul Baha. And in the afternoon, I was the only one lady visiting the guardian. Now you think about it. I was there, and the guardian was there, and telling me things and talking about the progress of the faith, the future of administrative order in the world order of Baha'u'llah, and I was only listener. I thought so low, so unworthy. And the period that he was there was constantly talking. Not 1 minute he stopped, because his mind was so full of the future of the cause and the way that the cause will be. And I didn't have any ability to really understand it. But the only one thing I understood, that the guardian is everything in our life. Now you have to think with this feeling that what happened to us as a household when the guardian passed away. I didn't answer you, but it's as far as I could picture the guardian for the audience from my heart.
This question is for Mr. Robarts. What did Shoghi Effendi say about Amatul Baha Ruhiya Khanum?
Oh, he said so many things about Amatul Baha Ruhiya Khanum. He loved her so dearly, and she loved. He said many things about Ruhiya Khanum, and she so many things about him. She was so devoted to him. But in speaking about her, in a telegram to the Baha'is of Canada, he said, "She who is destined to be my helpmate, my shield from the darts of the covenant breakers, my indefatigable collaborator in my arduous labors." And that is what she was.
Thank you. Thank you very much. This question is for Mrs. Banani. What is your most cherished memory of visiting Shoghi Effendi?
So many cherished memories. I don't know which one to say. You know, I visited twice. The first time we visited him was in 1934. And the second one was in 1952, after we pioneered to Africa. And he was so kind, and he showered us with love. I don't know which one to tell you, really. Because, as Mrs. Khadem said, when we were there, most of the time I was alone with him. And he kept us, instead of 9 days, 24 days. I'm sure most of the friends heard that our beloved guardian appointed the second contingent of the hand of the cause, and my husband was one of them. But we didn't know. And he asked the members of in International Council not to tell them, because I want to wait when they go back to send the cable. Then after 2-3 days, he told them, "I cannot wait. I want to tell him, but not now." But we were noticing that all the Baha'is in Haifa were very kind to us. They are really doing so many wonderful things. I thought because we are pioneering in Africa. Till the last day when we were leaving Haifa and we went to say goodbye, then when we arrived in the room, our beloved guardian turned to my husband and said, "You know, I was very busy last few weeks, and I appointed some more hand of the cause, and you are one of them." When he mentioned "you are one of them," I turned to my husband. I thought now he's transferring to something else. Really, I was shocked, happy, excited. I didn't know what to say. Then he gave us some instruction, and he turned to me and said, "Now you must go and help your husband and serve the faith." My husband was crying and begging him, "I am not worthy. Please give this bounty to my son-in-law, Ali." And guardian said, "No, this is your reward. His time will come." You remember yesterday Mr. Khadem was telling about how our beloved guardian was sensitive and how he could read the mind of the friends. You know, the first time when we were in Haifa, the wife of Abdul Baha was still alive. And she recognized me from my background, my great-grandmother. And she told me about my great-grandmother who was in the base of Abud, in that little room with 13 people slept in it. And my great-grandmother was, she slept on the shelf. And then she fell on Abdul Baha. Then she was so embarrassed. Next day, she left and went and stayed with one of the Baha'is, and she was in bed for 8 months. She asked permission from Baha'u'llah and left. Munira Khanum told me, yes, I remember your great-grandmother. Then, second time when we went to Haifa, I wanted to ask our beloved guardian, but I couldn't. Several times I just went to say something and I stopped. Till one day we went to Beit Abud. When we came back and went to visit him, he came to the room and asked me, did you go to Akka? I said, yes. He said, have you been to Beit Abud? Yes. Did you go to that room? I said, yes. And just like I asked him, he said, yes, I remember very well. Abdul Baha told me that story about your great-grandmother. And I was so happy. Yeah. And something else, excuse me if I'm talking too much. I didn't want to say anything, but something else which I want to tell the parents of small children. You know, in 1952, when we were going to Haifa, we didn't have assembly yet in Kampala. We had a Baha'i group, and Guardian was busy building the shrine. The Baha'i group of Kampala decided to send some contribution for the building, and everybody gets something. Then my granddaughter, Bahia, was only 4 years old. She was collecting pennies, and she had about 2.5 shillings in her box. She brought it to me and said, Mama John, please take this and give it to the guardian and tell him, if he asks you who gave you this money, tell him Bahia Naqshbandi and tell him that I say my prayer every night and every day. I said, all right. Ali said, oh, Mama John, no, don't do that. I said, of course I'm going to tell him. Then we went to Haifa, and I told Guardian. Suddenly his tears was running all over his face. And he said, yes, this is the way Baha'is should bring up their children from childhood to get used to this, giving to the fund. I remember several times in conventions or big meetings I told this story, and the fund... Now, I hope everybody remembers that.
Our next question is for Mrs. Robarts. Please tell us about your first visit with the guardian.
That's a very hard thing to do. All these pilgrimages over the years have all been different, and we were the first family, the 4 members together who went on pilgrimage. Shortly before, there had been Rafi and Mildred Matahedi with Roy, and Ruhia Hanum and Shoghi Fendi said that was the first time family members had come together. That may have been just the Western pilgrims, I don't know, but she said that. And, I can't picture this. When Shoghi Fendi came into the room where we were to have dinner at a table like this, in the house that was the Western Pilgrim House, which was where the hands lived in the time of the custodians and where the house later had their offices. Shoghi Fendi was there, and it was an indescribable thing. We knew, at least I did in my heart, from reading Shoghi Fendi's writings and being very touched once I had mastered the long sentences, and to think that here was the sign of God on earth, the priceless pearl, the guardian of the faith, chosen by Abdul Baha. I was just amazed that there could be a human being like that. And when this human being sat down to dinner, and I was sitting beside him, and he talked and became the perfect host, and talked with John, there was only one other Western pilgrim there. And I can't go into all that, but this went on for nights, dinner like that with Shoghi Effendi. And in what Glenn said today about Shoghi Effendi's style, about his writing, it reminded me of one of the pilgrims the pilgrim who was there. Shoghi Effendi was telling about the future, and it was just fascinating. Now when I read his writing, I can hear his voice saying those very things. And he was saying them at the table just to us, just a few people around the table. It was incredible. And she said, the friends wanted me to ask this and ask that and ask the other. And they were just questions that, just ordinary questions. And Shoghi Effendi, there was just one half a second when all of a sudden he said, "Why don't they read my book?" And it touched my heart to think that Shoghi Effendi had to suffer after that work, after the covenant breakers, after the pilgrims and the bothers and things, and after all the kind of life he lived. Imagine just the gardens alone and translating. It was just a terrible feeling. It only lasted a second, but I'll never forget it. He said, "Why don't they read my book?" And it was Glenn's talk today that brought that up. That's much too long. I could go on forever.
For Mr. Khadem, what is the significance of there being no will left by the guardian?
Very difficult to say. Well, I think this is my own understanding. First of all, let's see what will means. Baha'u'llah, in the book of Aqdas, he gives us, he says, everyone should write a will. And the purpose of the will, Baha'u'llah says, it should be adorned with the name of God and to testify the oneness of God and his belief in Baha'u'llah in this revelation. This is the purpose of the will in the book of Aqdas. And then if he has any property, any material things, the way he wants to be distributed, he should write it down. In that sense, I believe the beloved Shoghi Effendi did it exactly, because everything he said to the Baha'is verbally or wrote down, that was testifying the glory of Baha'u'llah and his belief and faith in Baha'u'llah, which he did. Then when it comes to the distribution of the properties, the guardian did not have anything to distribute. Ahmad al-Baharui Khanum wrote to the Israel government and announced that neither me nor the beloved guardian have a penny in this world. Apparently, we are poor, but we are the richest people in this world. So that we can't say he did not leave his will, because his will is in all his writings. But in the meantime, once he said to me in Persian and then mentioned in English, he said, I have written an episode about the beliefs of the Baha'is. And he said, and the name is Dispensation of Baha'u'llah. He said it in English. And he paused. He said, indeed, that is my will and testament. And then he said, I'll give you a copy to study. This is my will. He said, I have written particularly in order that no difference would arise after me. And in that one, the beloved Shoghi Effendi we all have it, and he dared me to translate parts of it for the friends in Persia. Well, you know the chapter on the Bab and Baha'u'llah and the titles of these two twin manifestations, and then he speaks about Abdul Baha. He explained to me, he said, formerly, when the friends spoke about the Bab, they simply said the Bab was forerunner of Baha'u'llah and passed by. They never elaborated about the station of the Bab. And he said that was the wisdom in those days because of the Babis, those who denied Baha'u'llah, we did not stress. And then the guardian paused. He said, this was my duty, and a great duty, to explain and to uplift the station of the Bab. Well, I say it in Persian exactly his words. فرمودن این تکلیف من بود و تکلیف شدید بود که مقام مبارک رو بلند کنم. For that purpose, he wrote that chapter. He translated Nabi's narrative. He wrote so many wonderful passages about the station of the Bab, and he said his station is not only forerunner. He confirmed it by the will and testament of Abdul Baha, when he said it from memory. He liked everybody, particularly the youth, to memorize from the writings. He said, Abdul Baha has written that the foundation of the, I'm paraphrasing, the foundation of the belief of the people of Baha is that the Bab is the manifestation of unity and oneness of God, and forerunner for Baha'u'llah. He said, when the friends speak about the Bab, they must say first that he was manifestation of unity, and then forerunner, because being manifestation has priority. This is in the will and testament. And then he said, he paused, he said he was not only forerunner of Baha'u'llah, he was also forerunner of the world order of Baha'u'llah, when he wrote down in his mother book Bayan, well, it is with he who gazes upon the order of Baha'u'llah. So that's 3 stations for the Bab. And then he spoke about Abdul Baha. He said Abdul Baha in his will and testament, he doesn't speak of himself at all. And then he said that was my duty also, my responsibility, to uplift and to say the friends about the station of Abdul Baha. And he used certain words, certain terms, which in Persian it can explain, and it's just like lordship. فرمودن احدی پی بکن هزار مبارکش نبرده و نخواهد. In the whole world, nobody can fathom, can know the depth of the station, of the knowledge of station of Abdul Baha. That is one of the mysteries of God. That's why Baha'u'llah calls him the greatest mystery. So I gathered that because the Bab and Abdul Baha did not explain out of his modesty in his will and testament, the beloved guardian wrote the dispensation of Baha'u'llah, and whatever he has written in the dispensation of Baha'u'llah is our belief. If we had, well, that was not God's will, we had another guardian, I'm sure that he would write about the station of the beloved guardian. I just wanted to express my deep gratitude to the Tahere, to this music, and to say that the beloved Shoghi Effendi liked very much the songs, and when he was a child, very young, going to the school, he led the choir, and he liked it. And when he went to England, in Manchester, I received some letters from the early believers in Manchester, who they say that after 45, 60 years has passed, still we remember the song that the beloved Shoghi Effendi told them and taught them in England, and the way it's written, Sinai Haq por Nur Shod. That was the song that the guardian taught them, even to those people, to the British people who did not know Persian. And I admire what you did. It was wonderful. the song and the music we have tonight. We enjoyed it very much.
Our next question is for Mr. Robarts. What did Shoghi Effendi say about the hand of the cause, Musa Banani?
He loved Mr. Banani, and so did I. We just loved him so much. He was the only hand in Africa for many years. And then suddenly, that year, I think it was October 5th, 1957, he named 3 other hands to cause. He named Enoch Olinga and Bill Sears and me. And Mr. Banani cabled us and asked us to come and meet in his house on the 15th of October. And we went, and there we talked to Mr. Banani. And we heard many things about what the Guardian had said about him. And when we had our pilgrimage, that is Audrey and Patrick and Nina and I were in Haifa in 1955. And there we heard a great deal about this perfectly wonderful man who had been quite well off financially, and he decided to build himself a beautiful big house in Tehran. And so he built it and had it all nicely set up, ready to move in, when suddenly he became a Baha'i. He cabled the Guardian, saying he would go anywhere in the world, and so the Guardian cabled him to go to Kampala. So they never spent even a day in that house. They went to Kampala, and the Guardian expressed the fact that he was the father of Africa. And he was so greatly loved by so many people. He had served the faith with such devotion. And he said to me, when you return to your home, which was in southern Africa, will you go near Kampala where Mr. Banani is? I said, yes, beloved Shoghi Effendi, we will certainly go there. And so we went. And Mr. Banani was not only quite a well-to-do man, but he was very modest. And when I began to tell him the things that the Guardian had said about him, he was embarrassed. He didn't want me to go on. He wanted me to stop. But he just didn't feel he could take these beautiful things. But the Guardian loved him very much and had expressed this love for him, and so this is what I was trying to do. And Mr. Banani, we were standing out on his veranda one day, and he said, you know, Shoghi Effendi one time said to me, if you wanted to, you could, God could raise you up so you could serve the faith and be stronger than that stone out there. And Mr. Banani told us he could never understand why he had said it, but he said, now I know. The Guardian felt that I had the strength to consume that rock. And now, he said, I am really going to do the best I can with that.
Mrs. Khadem, what was it about Shoghi Effendi that evoked such love and devotion from the hands of the cause? What was it about Shoghi Effendi that evoked such love and devotion from the hands of the cause?
I think to answer this question is very difficult because the hands of the cause were appointed by Shoghi Effendi for the qualities that they had. They all were in love with the guardian, and I think being in the presence of the hand of the cause is really a bounty and blessing. I'm not talking about my own husband. Please don't think that I'm praising him. Of course I should. But honestly, to tell you the truth, that when the hand of the cause in a room, you feel that. And I really am very much conscious of it. It seems the room is filled with so much love and inspiration that if you really don't know about their presence, then you know something is happening. You look and one of them around. And I don't want you to embarrass one of the hand of the cause. Mr. Rafa, I don't want to do that, but please you don't listen. Well, I knew Mr. Rafa, from all my time because his wife was my classmate and we were friends, and so I know him, but I didn't know him that well until last year. Then we came back from international convention, and we stayed because we are related too. My son married to his daughter. That is really such an honor for us. Then I knew him. And I got so attached to the personalities. And I found that the personalities of all the hands of the cause, there is something about them. Because the guardian appointed them. Now our reverence to these hands of the cause is the reverence to our beloved guardian. Because our beloved guardian is the one that appointed them. They are really remnants of the guardian. And that's why that when we see them with the guardian really having blessing with them. So this is my impression, and I have seen most hand of the cause. And one of them that was Dorothy Baker, and any one of you that read the book of Dorothy Baker, you know that they asked me about my visit with Dorothy Baker, and Dorothy Baker was really a fascinating person. So I really met all of them, Bill Maxwell, Keith Ransom Keller, Dorothy Baker, Horace Holly, and the generations that have come now into the faith and didn't have the bounty to visit these dear souls. I think they're losing a lot. But please add your admiration for our beloved guardian, for the hands of the cause that are at present among us, and get the inspiration from them. Please don't leave them alone. Go around them and get their memories, their understanding of the cause. They are the edifier of the soul of man. They are promoting learning among us. And I hope we have them for all time, but it's impossible. Because not only we have 10 hands of the cause out of 27 that the guardian appointed them. They are very, very precious. And I appreciate the one I have with me all the time. And all the time I'm then looking at him as the hand of the cause. I'm very sorry for it, but I should do it from now on. I try my best.
For Mrs. Banani, Please tell us what you wish about the beloved guardian. I think this could be taken two ways. Take it whatever way you like. Please tell us what you wish about the beloved guardian. I think it means whatever you want. Please tell us whatever you want about the beloved guardian.
What I want from guardian?
What about him? Whatever you'd like to tell us about him.
I think the question is not really clear.
It's complicated.
I'm going to help her. No, I'm not going to say anything. I'm helping her, saying that the question is not clear.
Clarify the question.
Okay, let me rephrase it.
What I
Please
want to
tell
say
us
about
anything that you would like to tell us about the beloved guardian.
That's
You know, first time when we visited him, the day we were saying goodbye, my husband was very sad. Sorry. And our beloved guardian told him, I assure you, you will come again to Haifa. And the next time when you come to Haifa, after that you go to United States. And when you go there, you don't need the stranger to translate for you. And it was in 1934. And in 1943, our eldest son came to United States. And some of the Persian friends know that from that time till 10 years, the door of United States was closed to the Eastern Baha'is. But I always remembered this promise of our beloved guardian till 1952, when he appointed him as a hand of the cause, and he invited all the hands to attend the intercontinental conferences. And the second one was in United States. When we left Haifa and we sat in an airplane, suddenly I remembered that now my husband is a hand of the cause and we are going to United States. I just slapped his leg and said, we are going to United States and our son is there to translate for you. When we went to Chicago, they asked my husband to say something about Africa, and my son stood next to him. Just like a cinema came to my mind, the promise of our beloved guardian. Then another promise he gave us in 1952, one night when I was with him. And usually when I was alone, sometimes Ruhi Khanum came with me. And our beloved guardian was telling me about the future of the building, all the building in the Mount Carmel. And I said, do you think we will have a bounty to come and see this thing? He said, oh yes, you come many more times. And then Ruhi Khanum said, next time they come with their children. He said, no, they come with their spiritual children. And the next time was after he passed away, and the hand of the cause were going to have conclave in Haifa. And I usually accompanied my husband. We went there, and all the hands were sitting at the table, and Mr. Olinga was sitting next to my husband. And our beloved guardian used to say, he is your spiritual son. Then I remembered the second promise. Very good.
Our last question is for Mrs. Robarts. What was the most important thing you learned from the beloved guardian?
Oh, well, I learned a lot of things. I'm still learning them. You know, when you were a pioneer, and especially if you were left alone quite a lot of the time, because all of the hands traveled and their pioneer wives had to keep on doing the pioneering while they were gone. And I sometimes had to go to places that were a little bit scary. And I always thought, well, Shoghi Effendi sent me here. He knows I'm here, and whatever it is, it's all right. And it was a tremendous thing, that tremendous security. But I learned to go back to that pilgrimage and that table here we would be talking about the Commonwealth, the Baha'i Commonwealth, which had something none of us had, I'm sure I hadn't thought about. And Shoghi Effendi would be talking about that. And then he would revert to the perfect host. And then he would reach to a bowl of beautiful, big tangerines. And he would say, this just came from the Garden of Rizwan this morning, and put it on my plate. And then go on talking about things. And the thing I learned was that everything the Guardian has said will, if it hasn't come true yet, it is going to come true. And the day that shivers went down my spine was when I was there 20 years later, and there was no Shoghi Effendi there. And I recalled, we were there for the convention, the national convention, and I recalled Shoghi Effendi coming in one day, and he said, I have laid out the Ark on Mount Carmel today. And he said, this is on the point of the Ark opposite the Monument Gardens where the tomb of Bahia Khanum is. That would be where the house would be here at the top. And he described how it would be the building for the hands, and all as it is. And when I was back 20 years later, it just was a thrill to recall that. Because at that trip, all you heard was da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, and they were digging into the mountain for that very building. And Shoghi Effendi is alive as ever. And those who will begin to feel from his writing and from his perfect reflecting of Abdu'l-Baha's tablets and putting it all into practice, they will get that feeling, and it will be a security and a solid thing that nobody on the face of this earth has today. And plans that we have from the house are exactly what the Guardian would have done had he been here. And that's all. I really don't like talking about Shoghi Effendi at all, but I hope that the people in this room will get the feeling of the kind of being that Shoghi Effendi was. The most tender, loving human being, and then in no time at all, this tremendous energy, this tremendous power, this vision, and this absolutely incredible being that he was. But he's still here.
Perhaps we could close this phase of our evening by asking Mr. Khadem if he would chant a prayer of Shoghi Effendi.
Friends, I thought the same question that was asked from Ms. Banani and Javidukht would be asked from me to say, and for that purpose I thought that since we have such an intense love for the beloved Shoghi Effendi, and tonight is the night of his passing. He's so close to us. In order to praise him, I thought that we should chant the second paragraph of the will and testament that Abdu'l-Baha praises, because our praise does not deserve that Abdu'l-Baha praised him. And any time I want to say something in praise of the Guardian, I said, who better than Abdu'l-Baha who said it? Now I pass it to you to say it in English, and then I chant the same passage in Arabic. Please. And usually we stand in remembrance of the beloved Shoghi.
Salutation and praise, blessing and glory rest upon that primal branch of the divine and sacred lote tree, grown out, blessed, tender, verdant, and flourishing from the twin holy trees, the most wondrous, unique, and priceless pearl that doth gleam from out the twin surging seas. Upon them that have believed, rested assured, stood steadfast in his covenant, and followed the light that after my passing shineth from the dayspring of divine guidance. For behold, he is the blessed and sacred bough that hath branched out from the twin holy trees. Well is it with him that seeketh the shelter of his shade, that shadoweth all mankind.
والتحية والثناء والصلاة والبهاء على أول قسم مبارك خزل نذر رياء من السرة المقدسة الرحمانية منشئب من تلك الشجرتين المباركتين شجرتين الربانيتين وأبدأ جوهرة فريدة أسماء تتلألأ من خلال البحرين المتلاطمين وعلى الذين آمنوا واطمأنوا وثبتوا على ميثاق الله واتبعوا النور الذي يلوح ويضيء من فجر الهدى من بعدي واتبعوا النور الذي يلوح ويضيء من فجر الهدى من بعدي ألا وهو فرع مقدس مبارك منشئب من الشجرتين المباركتين طوبى لمن استظل في ظله الممدود على العالمين ربنا وفقنا على معرفة أمرك العظيم والتخلق بخلقك الكريم والسلوك في منهجك القويم بفضلك القديم وجودك الأمين إنك أنت الرحيم وإنك أنت أرحم الراحمين بنده آستانش شوقی